This protagonist is the most bloody I've ever seen. Come with me to check out this dark and emotional story, where Adonis' peaceful life is brutally interrupted when his mentor is gunned down right in front of him. Well, I believe no one would be happy seeing that. Here, we will have revolt, revenge, and a determined dark protagonist set on delivering justice with his own hands. Without further ado, let's go to the recap. The anime begins by explaining some things about this world. It tells us that in the beginning, God created humankind, and then created the witches. God shared his powers with them and told them, "In my place, you shall guide the helpless humans." The witches agreed and swore to dedicate themselves to helping humans in the name of friendship. Until we reach the present day, where human technology and science have evolved, and humankind has decided they no longer need their help, even considering them as enemies, beginning an intense and unrelenting witch hunt. After this brief explanation of the world's situation, let's start the story. Adonis and his mentor journey through the desert looking for another city to seek refuge. Even though Adonis is human, his mentor, Chloe, is a witch. Like the others, she is being pursued. They seem to be lost, and Chloe checks her map. However, Adonis takes a smartphone out of his pocket and says he's already found their location. Upon seeing this, she becomes indignant and says that if he uses those strange machines, they can track them. Adonis, on the other hand, says that he assembled that cell phone, and they can't track him, since he uses magic for communication instead of traditional radio waves. The boy becomes proud as he explains his creation, but Chloe doesn't like it so much and gives him a hard time for being foolish. At some point, Adonis asks her seriously why they have to keep running. Chloe simply replies that it's because she's a witch. She adds that the way humankind looks at witches has changed, and now, simply living is a struggle for all of them. He doesn't understand very well, but he continues his journey with her. While they talk, Chloe says they should soon find a city to live in peacefully, and Adonis should go to school, even find a girlfriend possibly. The boy, however, says he doesn't want to go to school. He prefers to continue being her apprentice. At that moment, Chloe teases him, asking if he likes older women, which makes the boy feel embarrassed and awkward. They seem to be quite happy, but this ends when a group of humans quickly appears in various vehicles. Adonis even tries to help with his magic, but Chloe stops him, and she ends up dealing with all of them herself. Afterwards, Adonis is upset and asks why she doesn't let him help, since he can cast spells too. Chloe says that Adonis is too inexperienced with magic, and before she finishes speaking, the boy summons a giant sword. Adonis then begins to question why she doesn't let him fight because he is human like them. Since she is kind, she doesn't want him to kill his own kind, but Adonis says he can't stand not being able to protect her anymore, which surprises her very much. Soon, Chloe hugs him and says she loves him too. Pay attention to how close they are and how much they love each other. This will explain or at least justify Adonis' actions later on. At this moment, some kind of device is activated, even though it was frozen by Chloe's magic. It sends their location to the humans who are pursuing them. With this information, they use teleportation technology to transport the two to the imperial capital. The emperor soon introduces himself but says he wants to talk to them not as an emperor but as a simple human being. He says that for a long time, they have been protected by the witches' magic. When natural disasters or plagues occurred, they depended on the witches for help. However, human science and technology have advanced significantly, and they have finally surpassed the witches. And then he begins a speech preaching human supremacy, saying that they are no longer weak. With this speech, he gains near unanimous support from the human population to exterminate a specific group of people, namely, the witches. He continues preaching human supremacy, saying that they no longer need the witches' help for anything. So, all he had to do was let the witches be and everything would have been fine, right? But instead, he preaches the total extermination of the witches since they are no longer needed. And the worst part is that the guy makes a strong case with his rhetoric, and he inflames the population and gains almost unanimous support from all humans. At this moment, Adonis and Chloe are teleported and appear before everyone. Adonis tells Chloe to run away and says he will buy some time, but he is easily restrained by some guards. The emperor then says he understands. Adonis was raised by a witch, and he says this is the end of the world. At this moment, Chloe speaks to the emperor. She is angry and says that if he values the lives of his people, he must release her apprentice immediately. Now, things are about to get ugly. She summons her ice staff and makes a really scary expression. She says she doesn't want to fight against citizens who are humans like Adonis. But the Emperor isn't giving her any option. She begins to cast her magic and is ready to go all out. Well, I wish I could say that, but reality is harsh, my friend. As she was finishing casting her magic, suddenly it is completely nullified, and both her ice magic and her staff disappear in the blink of an eye. Chloe doesn't understand anything, and the Emperor explains why this happened. He says fortunately for him, humans have developed technology that completely cancels out the witch's magic, so at that moment, she is not much different from a human. Adonis also tries to use his magic with his pen, but it doesn't work either. At this moment, the Emperor approaches Chloe, tears her clothes, exposing her body, and slaps her. Meanwhile, the perverted humans start taking pictures of her, making the most repulsive comments. Seriously, if you're not wishing for the end of humanity at this point, you're crazy. The witches did absolutely nothing against humans. The simple fact that they had powers caused all this. Now I want everything to burn, you can judge me. As expected, Adonis becomes completely outraged upon seeing this. And when the boy yells that he'll kill them, the Emperor orders his soldiers to kill the boy. Upon hearing this, Chloe bows before him and says that Adonis has nothing to do with this. It was she who raised him, and she understands that they want to eradicate all witches. But that boy is human, just like all of them, and they shouldn't kill him. She even says that she kidnapped him and raised him as a slave, which is why he follows her. And she begs them not to eliminate the boy. Adonis, upon hearing this, doesn't understand anything, as he knows she's only saying that to save him. The Emperor then points his gun at Chloe, and she thanks Adonis tearfully for everything. At that moment, he remembers the day he found her in an alley. She smiled and took care of him as if he were her son. Before she finishes saying that she loves Adonis, the damn Emperor pulls the trigger and kills Chloe. And not only that, he orders the soldiers to shoot her with their machine guns, completely mutilating her body. In her last moments, she remembers everything she shared with Adonis and says she was truly happy by his side. Adonis witnesses all of this and becomes completely enraged and angry. And you think that's it? No. With utter cruelty, the Emperor orders them to cut off her head and hold it up for everyone as if it were a trophy. Man, he doesn't know what he's doing. This kid is going to grow up in hatred, and I think it's not enough for what will happen from here on. You'll see soon. Here, we have a long time skip. It's been 10 years since Chloe was brutally killed. Adonis wasn't killed, this is their mistake. However, the boy is confined in a high-security prison. We move to one of the prison cells, where people from another defeated empire are being held. Seeing two girls fighting over bread, Doroka, this girl here, offers her own bread to one of them to end the fight. Pay attention to her, this girl will be very important to the unfolding of the story. Anna, another girl, asks if she'll be okay since she gave her bread to another person. Doroka says it's fine because she has a lot of energy. Anna asks Doroka why humans are fighting so much now, especially since most of the witches have been eliminated. Now humans are fighting among themselves, which makes no sense. They preach that humanity would be happy after exterminating the witches. Doroka, in turn, uses some dolls to try to cheer up Anna, and it actually works. Then, the guards appear, calling for number 218, which is Anna's number. The girl becomes completely frightened, as when they call a number, that person never comes back, indicating that they are eliminated. Seeing that it's Anna's number, Doroka switches places with her and goes with the soldier. Afterward, they arrive in a room where there's a strange guy. He says she has a good appearance and body, and immediately orders her to undress. They need to check her body to see if she's suitable for the next master she'll serve. Doroka, seeing the other girls who went before completely destroyed and worn out, becomes very scared and says they're very cruel. But while the strange guy comes to take a picture with her to mock her, she bites his finger and grabs his smartphone. Doroka runs away and tries to use the smartphone to open the cells. However, IT doesn't recognize the owner's voice and refuses to authorize the opening. Doroka then tries to imitate his voice, and don't ask me how, but she somehow manages to gain access and opens all the prison cells. Then, a general commotion takes over the prison, and Doroka keeps moving, until she reaches a strange door and decides to open it. Inside, there's something strange in the center, and Doroka is intrigued. The guards arrive and push the girl down, but fortunately, she had already ordered the opening of the strange compartment. And guess what was inside? That's right, our dear Adonis, now 10 years older, but still filled with hatred for humankind. He frees himself from the chains and easily dispatches the guards without mercy. Afterward, he turns to Doroka and would have attacked her too, as he believes all humans are guilty. The girl is scared and begs him not to kill her. Adonis shoots anyway, but don't worry, he didn't shoot her. After that, we see that the humans have sent some kind of cyborg after Adonis, which seems to be very strong, despite being strained. Outside, Adonis begins his bloody vengeance. He makes his revolver bullets huge and completely destroys one of the city's buildings. And he says that now is the time to kill all the citizens. Afterwards, we see Doroka. She managed to escape and is wandering through the city. Meanwhile, all hell is breaking loose. Adonis summons some kind of giant titan and starts rampaging through the city. Cars are being hurled, buildings are falling, things are going crazy, my friend. And with a lot of anger, he declares that it's better for the emperor not to run. At this moment, the human general asks where the magic nullifying device is, as they need it to stop Adonis. Meanwhile, Adonis continues destroying everything in his path. At one point, some tanks attack Adonis, but strangely, the projectiles are deflected before they even reach him, leaving everyone puzzled. At this moment, we're explained that during the 10 years Adonis was imprisoned, he mentally studied magic and figured out the best way to wipe out the human race once he got out. It's also explained that, as Adonis isn't a witch, his use of magic is different. He relies on writing for this, learning from Chloe how to transcribe the mechanisms of magic, and using his special pen, he can mechanize magic. This wouldn't have been possible without an exceptional teacher. Now, for Adonis, it doesn't matter who was there or not 10 years ago, he just wants everything to explode. He summons 2 machine guns and starts killing everyone in his path. The boy even wears a satisfied smile while doing so, but soon he realizes this doesn't make him happy. And at that moment, several missiles hit Adonis's giant beast, throwing him away from the Titan. And with that, the city continues to be destroyed, both by him and the humans themselves. Amidst all this, Doroka appears trying to comfort a little boy who has lost his mother. She helps him find her and quickly runs away. Afterward, we see the wretched emperor. He's very ill, and he says there's a lot of noise outside. His wife tells him to calm down, as the empire he created will handle it easily. He mentions that all this was possible because he had a beautiful queen who supported him. But he says it's coming to an end, as he contracted an incurable disease. Is it karma? Well, that's what happens to those who do evil, it always comes back. The emperor asks if this is God's curse. But he says if it is, he doesn't regret it. Thanks to him, they built a hyper-scientific civilization and eradicated the witches. According to him, everything was done in the name of progress. According to him, humanity would never advance as long as the witches were among them. He also says that the new era doesn't need magic. Meanwhile, Adonis is there, destroying buildings, bringing down helicopters, and killing as many people as he can. At some point, in the control room, they notice a civilian approaching Adonis. And we see that he was talking about Doroka. She shouts at him to stop everything immediately. She begs him to please stop, as he has taken many innocent lives. And when she mentions not wanting to see more innocent people die, Adonis gets even angrier, as he remembers Chloe being brutally murdered. Adonis is furious and says he should have killed her when he had the chance in prison. Doroka, in turn, says that Chloe wouldn't want him to do this. And soon, Adonis grabs her by the collar and tells Doroka not to dare utter her name. He asks if she's some distraction from the humans, as they always play dirty. Doroka, however, says that Adonis was the name the greatest witch gave to her beloved student. And she continues to say that all of them, the witches, know this. Which implies that Doroka is also a witch. And indeed, the girl soon uses magic to show that she is like Chloe, a witch. Adonis releases her, and she introduces herself. But Adonis doesn't want to hear it. He grabs her by the neck and can't believe she's a witch. As for him, they're all dead. She insists, saying she's one of the survivors, and Adonis asks why they didn't come to help Chloe when she needed it. Doroka apologizes and says they were desperate to escape, but she says they can bring Chloe back. Adonis asks what the heck that means and accuses her of lying to save herself. The girl then says it's okay, if that makes him happy, he can go ahead. But she's glad to have met him and gives a beautiful smile. A smile that softens the heart of our bloody protagonist, as he remembers his teacher. At this moment, he gives up on killing her, asking if they can really bring her back, while shedding tears. Doroka says yes and asks him to go with her. and she says he's not alone anymore. But when he softens and reaches out his hand to her, well, this happens. The girl is simply shot by a sniper and completely destroyed in front of Adonis, who saw her as a hope to bring his teacher back. After Doroka's death, the anime gives us a glimpse of her backstory. We witness the village where she and other witches lived being attacked by humans, completely wiping out the other witches. Thanks to Mia's sacrifice, another witch, Doroka managed to escape. We learn that the machine inhibiting the use of magic was used in this attack. She was entrusted with the mission to report everything to Ophelia, the witch's leader. Despite hesitating to leave Mia behind, Doroka ended up fleeing as instructed by Mia. After that, we return to Doroka and Adonis. The girl, in her final moments, apologizes. Adonis falls into despair, pleading for her not to die. But unfortunately, it's too late. I mean, no one survives a shot like that. Before she finally passes away, she reveals something to Adonis. At that moment, the soldiers shoot and finish off Doroka. Now, Adonis is surrounded. The soldiers aim at him, but he manages to conjure a shield before they start firing. Adonis uses the soldiers' own projectiles and takes them all down. As he approaches the last one, the sniper who killed Doroka tries to take him out. Adonis then summons a massive bullet and shoots it towards the sniper. And well, all that's left is their legs. Adonis continues walking, and meanwhile, Yuki, the sister of the human general, is trying to activate the magic inhibiting machine. However, she faces some obstacles. The scientists who created the machine warn her not to activate it, as they discovered its use is extremely harmful to humans nearby. That's precisely why the Emperor and several other soldiers who used it to kill Chloe are very sick. The scientist explains that if she uses it again, the result will be even worse than before, and that's why she shouldn't activate it. But you know how teenagers are. Despite hearing all this, the girl activates the machine to show off for her dear brother. Upon activation, Adonis's magic is nullified, and now he is vulnerable to attacks. But look at the cost of all this, and you can't say he wasn't warned. Yuki is nearly dead, and even though the scientist is very weakened, she manages to deactivate the machine. At this moment, the soldiers advance toward Adonis, and he rushes to try and grab his feather. Adonis stumbles before reaching it, and at that moment, a female soldier approaches, stating she will finish him to save humanity. Is this the end of Adonis? Well, you'll find out soon. Let's continue with the story. The tough lady grabs her weapon and cuts off the boy's head. Then, she returns to the other soldiers, carrying Adonis's head. They all celebrate his death and seem quite relieved. After that, we see that both Yuki and the scientist were severely affected by the anti-magic device, but apparently, they didn't die. Following this, the Emperor gives a speech. The scoundrel says that with Adonis's death, they finally rid themselves of magic once and for all. Should I spill the beans, or would you like to? The Emperor claims that although he's a human like them, Adonis is a demon, an apprentice of those they abhor. The Emperor expresses regret for having let him live 10 years ago. But now, everything's fine since the last trace of the witches has been eliminated. Later on, we see that human scientists examined Adonis's body and concluded that the body they found is fake. At that moment, we see Adonis on a stretcher screaming in agony. He seems to be in a lot of pain. One of the witches remarks that it was natural for a human not to withstand teleportation, but fortunately, Adonis's condition is stabilizing, and he shouldn't die. At this moment, Ophelia, the witch's leader, appears and casts a spell on Adonis. Now let's backtrack a bit. Remember when his neck was cut? Well, that was actually a clone of his body, and it was that soldier who did it, who isn't a soldier at all. Her name is Anna, and she's a witch who was infiltrated among the human soldiers. Thanks to her, they managed to deceive the humans and escape safely. She tells him that all of it is part of the plan to resurrect the witch Chloe. At that moment, the teleportation magic is activated on Adonis, while Anna grieves over Doroka's death. We return to Adonis, and he finally awakens. He finds the place quite strange and asks Ophelia where he is. She says it's the nation of witches, and soon we see that they live happily there. Despite knowing they're not enemies, Adonis doesn't fully trust them. After the teleportation, his body became very weak, so he has to use a wheelchair to move around. Ophelia reassures him that his body will soon return to normal. Adonis asks if she knew Chloe. Ophelia confirms and adds that there isn't a single witch who doesn't know her. She was the strongest, smartest, happiest, and kindest witch, admired by everyone. However, one day she was expelled from the witch nation. The reason being that she taught magic to a human child, Adonis in this case. Ophelia tries to explain that for witches, magic is irreplaceable, it's like their soul. It represents the friendship and devotion that God granted them to lead humanity. When Chloe adopted him as her apprentice, all witches begged her to abandon him and return to the witch nation, but we already know she didn't want that, right? She gave a beautiful smile and apologized. At this point, Ophelia shows Adonis the pen he uses for magic. The boy becomes desperate to grab it. He tries to walk to get it, but due to his weakness, he ends up falling to the ground. Meanwhile, Ophelia talks about the pen. She explains that it's made from a phoenix feather and holds magic within its adornments. She calls it a true masterpiece and mentions only Chloe could have made it. After this explanation, she returns it to Adonis. Now, Adonis becomes serious and asks if the old woman was serious when she mentioned the possibility of reviving Chloe. Ophelia assures him that witches don't lie, and he can rest assured, it is indeed possible. Adonis then becomes calmer and looks up at the sky. To his surprise, when he looks up, he sees planet Earth far away. Obviously, the boy is shocked. Ophelia explains that this isolated land is out of reach of humans. They arrived there 10 years ago, and now it's a place where witches can live peacefully. The place is called Lunamilia, and as the name suggests, it's on the moon. We head back to Earth and see that humans are preparing for battle, which is odd, since they believe all witches have been eradicated. We return to the moon, and Ophelia is conversing with Adonis. She mentions that science revealed the true nature of humanity. She wonders if God created a spherical world to prevent them from seeing too far. Then she shows Adonis the tombstones of all the witches who died at the hands of humans. Ophelia continues with a long speech to Adonis, praising the witches and speaking ill of humans. Adonis becomes somewhat suspicious upon hearing all this but follows her. At a certain point, they reach a tree. Ophelia says its name is Mytho, a tree that produces witches. Adonis is impressed and mentions it's the first time he's seen one up close. Ophelia continues with the explanations, saying that witches are genderless. And unlike humans, they don't have pairs to mate with. They receive life directly from these trees, as future bearers of God's power. She mentions that this is the last surviving tree, brought from the planet's surface. They had to do this because humans burned all the others. Thus, this is the last tree that can generate and regenerate witches. As Adonis hears the word regenerate, he begins to remember Chloe and starts to hope that his mentor can return to life. Ophelia says she needs Adonis's help to bring Chloe back to life. She needs him to transcribe the memories he has with her into magic, that way, he can bring her back. He must use his memories and use magic to bring them into physical form. Poor Isso, Adonis is the key to bring her back to life. At this moment, the old woman leaves and tells him to inform her when he's ready to do so. Adonis lies down, observing the fruit from the tree, and seems skeptical that his magic could resurrect Chloe. While he was lost in thought, a witch appears, the same one who saved him when he was about to be killed on Earth. She seems quite angry and asks if Adonis has something to say. Adonis claims he doesn't know what she's talking about. At this point, the girl, very angry, accuses him of Daroka's death. Adonis simply says it's not his problem since the witches planned everything. He also states she shouldn't take her anger out on him. After that, Adonis walks away. While leaving, Anna continues talking, still furious. She says humans are selfish and bets that Adonis feels lucky to be able to resurrect the beloved mentor whenever he wants using his magic and the tree. Anna, visibly upset, begins to question why they risked their lives for someone like Adonis. At that moment, Adonis turns and angrily mentions that it's obvious why. He firmly believes that they want to use Chloe to fight against human. He asks her if that's why Anna saved him. The girl is left speechless and asks what he's saying. He tells her to stop playing dumb and reveals what Daroka told him in her final moments. She spoke about the witches intending to use Chloe, and after reviving her, Adonis and Chloe should escape from the witch nation. Adonis also points out that they can live in extreme environments without protective gear, so there's no need for such a grand installation. He suspects it's a cage to keep humans. He suspects the witches will teleport to kidnap human slaves and teach them summoning magic to fight. This is their strategy for the nearly extinct witches to win. To teach this unknown style, they need Adonis and Chloe, hence the insistence on reviving her. Anna is shocked that Adonis has figured it all out and asks what he will do now that he knows everything. She pleads for his cooperation, saying she won't allow Daroka's death to be in vain. Adonis remains cold, stating he'll still resurrect Chloe, and that hasn't changed. But he'll only make a decision after she gives the order. He ominously adds that if Chloe sees the witches as enemies, he will, too. Then comes the time for the resurrection ceremony. All preparations are made, and the ritual begins. Adonis starts transcribing his memories into magic. They begin to imbue the receptacle of the tree, and in the process, Adonis remembers the moments he spent with his mentor. He remembers how kind she was and also recalls seeing her body full of marks and injuries, all due to the persecution she faced. He remembers her crying, saying she couldn't survive alone in this world. Finally, as the ritual nears its end, contrary to what the witches thought, Chloe is not resurrected. Adonis rewrote the memories and inadvertently brought Doroka back. I bet the witches will be quite upset about this. I'm really excited for the next episode. What about you? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, drop a like and subscribe, it helps a lot. Seriously guys, you have no idea. I'm counting on you. And for you awesome folks who always stick around till the end, I've left an amazing video here on the end screen. It tells the story of Fate, a boy born with a seemingly useless ability, and how one day he awakens his real power, becoming incredibly overpowered, and completely turning his life around. Click on it and check it out, it's just amazing, alright? Until next time, see ya.